I do not perceive my own best interest. You do not perceive your own best interest. What's good, fam? We made it to lesson 24 of A Course in Miracles, and today we are going to understand why I do not perceive my own best interest and why you do not perceive your own best interest. So, before we dive in, we're going to talk about this a little bit because this lesson is a little bit longer than the ones we've done previously. It's a little more in depth, and just to make sure we understand this before we dive in, we're going to kind of summarize what we've been talking about the past few days. And we are going to begin by saying that me and you grew up and were raised in this world that is dominated by fear and worry and doubt and lack. And it is ego driven. Everyone is doing things to get what they want, what they think they want. We are all ego driven, and me and you must be that way because we grew up in a world that is also like that primarily. So that's what we learned just by observing, just by being around people who gave off that energy. We grew into that, and now we are thinking like the rest of the world, if we can even call that thinking. The Course wouldn't call that thinking. When you are doing anything with your mind that is fear, worry, doubt, lack, you're simply not thinking at all, because whenever you're thinking, you are in your right mind. You are knowing who you truly are and who everyone else truly is. And whenever you are in any moment and you forget that and you are clouded by worry or doubt or fear or illusions, you are simply hallucinating. You are not thinking at all. You are in a state that you don't see the world for what it really is. You're in a state where you have made images that are blocking you from perceiving love, which is all that is. So me and you don't perceive in our best interest, and here's why. For the most part, again, me and you are clouded by worry, doubt, fear. We are maybe insecure. We are maybe feeling like we are not enough, or we don't have enough, that there's lack in this world and there's not enough to go around, whatever it may be. And those are just some like very general statements. But for the most part, those thoughts pop up on a consistent basis every day in our thoughts, and they are unnecessary because they serve no purpose. And that is the whole reason why me and you are doing this course together, is so that way we can learn how to release them instantaneously, because they serve no purpose, and unlearn everything that we've learned while being in this world, so that way we can have true perception and see the world for what it really is, which is a reflection of who we really are, which is love and light. So that is why me and you don't perceive our own best interests. We think we want this situation to play out like this, or we want this person to do this specific thing because we believe that this will happen. And we're kind of trying to plan everything out ourselves because we think we know what's in our own best interest, but we really don't, because we are in that moment identifying with the ego. And the ego is that sense of separation within you that is the illusion. It is not real. So the ego is not going to like this lesson today. None of them for that matter. But that is why while we are in this state, we are identifying with who we really are, because there is no way that we could be here together and be identified with the ego. If that were true, I wouldn't be here, or you wouldn't be here. But because me and you are here together learning and understanding this, then we must be in this moment aware of who we really are and willing to make that our only perception always, forevermore. So let's go ahead and begin, and then we'll talk more about this after we're done and we apply it together like usual. So you already know what to do. Open up to lesson 24. If you don't got the book yet, PDF is in the description. And let's go ahead and dive into this. Lesson 24 of A Course in Miracles. I do not perceive my own best interests. In no situation that arises do you realize the outcome that would make you happy. Therefore, you have no guide to appropriate action and no way of judging the result. What you do is determined by your perception of the situation, and that perception is wrong. It is inevitable, then, that you will not serve your own best interests. Yet, they are your only goal in any situation which is correctly perceived. Otherwise, you will not recognize that they are. If you realized that you do not perceive your own best interests, you could be taught what they are, which is what me and you are doing right now. We are realizing that we do not know what is in our own best interest, and because we are releasing our way of seeing, we are open to receiving true perception and therefore being able to see what our best interest actually is in any situation at any given moment in time. But in the presence of your conviction that you do know what they are, you cannot learn. The idea for today is a step toward opening your mind so that learning can begin. The exercises for today require much more honesty than you are accustomed to using. A few subjects honestly and carefully considered in each of the 5 practice periods which should be undertaken today will be more helpful than a more cursory examination of a large number. 2 minutes are suggested for each of the mind-searching periods with the exercises involved, which the exercises involve. The practice periods should begin with repeating today's idea, followed by searching the mind with closed eyes for unresolved situations about which you are currently concerned. You will quickly realize that you have a number of goals in mind as part of the desired outcome, and also that these goals are on different levels and often conflict. In applying the idea for today, name each situation that occurs to you, and then enumerate carefully as many goals as possible that you would like to be met in its resolution. The form of each application should be roughly as follows. In the situation involving blank, I would like blank to happen and blank to happen. So before we continue, let's go ahead and do a few examples together. And these are going to be very general, like usual, but during each one of your practice periods today, you are going to really take your time, 2 minutes as stated, and really give this some thought, because like all these lessons, they really do help, because while you are sitting there with your eyes closed and you're searching your mind and you are saying to yourself, in the situation involving going to the studio and talking with my engineer, I would like to receive my final mix and masters for my album by this day so that way I can drop the album. And then repeat another situation that is going on in your life. So that was a situation that I've experienced before, and we could do another one. In the situation involving this specific person, I would like them to do this and this. Or in the situation involving finances, I would like this and this. And then we are going to conclude with, I do not perceive my own best interest in this situation. So before we get back to reading this, I just want to kind of go a little further on this and understand why. A few days ago, we talked about the radar screen, what's on our radar screen. And for example, whenever you're playing GTA, on the bottom of the screen, you could see the map of where you're currently at and what's around you, or any video game for that matter that has a map that you could see. Or if you're not a video game person, any type of radar screen that is showing you what is in the area, what is in your immediate vicinity. That's what's on our radar screen. So in our own lives, for example, we know the people that we see on a daily basis, which is not a lot of people based off of the billions of people that are in this world. We see the amount of money that we have in our bank account, which is very minuscule compared to what is truly out there and ready to be received, just sitting there waiting for someone to be in the state of mind to receive that. We see the vehicle that we drive, we see the clothes that we wear, we see the things that we do every day, we see what we have scheduled for this year or this month or this week. We have this limited perception of what's going on in our lives in this moment. And we think that this situation that we would like to get solved or play out in a way that we think is the way that we want it to play out. Remember, most of the times we are identifying ourselves with the ego, which does not have your best interest. It is praying for your downfall, so to speak, because whenever you are not aware of who you really are, the ego gets to kind of kick back and be in control, which is why you do not perceive your own best interests. Because whenever I am identifying with the ego is going to make sure that I see from that lens, so that way I stay asleep. Because if I did in that moment see myself for who I really am, which is love and light, power, creator, I wouldn't be identifying with the ego, and it would be obliterated in that instant. I understood that I am who I am, which is all those attributes we just talked about and always talk about. So this is making a lot of sense, I'm pretty sure. Whenever you are identified with the ego, it wants to remain in control. And we think that we perceive within our own best interest based off of what we see in this limited picture of ours, in this limited radar screen that is only giving us so much data. But off the radar screen, which is infinite possibilities, is what God knows, the higher power, the source that created you, that you are an extension of, sees a very broadened perspective of where you are and where you desire to be. Because just like a GPS, you type in your destination where you want to go, and the GPS takes you to the quickest route that will get you there with the least resistance, with the quickest amount of time. It's point A to point B the best possible way. And whenever you turn a different direction that it told you to go, it simply reroutes itself and goes in the next best direction that will help you get to where you want to be as soon as possible. And that's kind of how God works for us. God, source, higher power, whatever you want to call it, just know that whatever we call it is irrelevant, because it is always there. It is truth. It is what me and you are an extension of, knows everything and everyone and every person, every situation, circumstance, event that would be best in order to be put in our lives, that would help us get from point A, which is where we're at right now, to point B in the least amount of time in this world possible, with least resistance possible. That's our best interest. But whenever we are focused on our radar screen and our data, which is very, very minuscule compared to what's really out there and what God knows to be, whenever we focus on our little tiny egotistical plan, we are in that moment not open to receiving anything other than what we said is the way that we are going to go about things. Because now we think that we identified the way that it's going to work out. We think this is the best way possible. But remember, you don't know if that's the best thing possible. You are going to buy a house and you think this is the house that I want to buy. This is the best one possible. But you haven't seen every house in the area that you're trying to buy house in, or even if that's the right area, or you think that this is the best restaurant in town, but you haven't ate at every restaurant in town. So you kind of get a sense here that me and you really do not know what we don't know. We don't know what we don't know. So this lesson today is helping us understand that we don't know what we don't know. And whenever we remove what we think should be done based off of our limited perception, and we allow it to be clear and open for God's will to be done, which is always what is your true best interest, because we're going to learn further in the book that God's will is also our will. We always want the same thing that God wants for us, and vice versa. But me and you, in our time of being identified with the ego, again, we do not know what's in our own best interest, because we only see this tiny little portion of this gigantic possibility of things happening. So this actually sets you free. We're going to finish reading this and we'll talk more about it, but just know that this lesson sets you free from always trying to plan things, because again, we don't know what's in our own best interest. And whenever we plan something and we go along with our plan, although that may work out, it could have gone completely better. It could have gone in a way that would have worked out even more so to your best interest, but we will never know, because we decided to take this plan that we have cultivated in our minds in times of being identified with the ego, rather than taking God's plan and God's route, the GPS that knows exactly where we are and exactly where we want to be, and is going to get us there effortlessly. So let's continue. Just remember, we repeat today, in the situation involving blank, I would like blank to happen and blank to happen, and so on. Try to cover as many different kinds of outcomes as may honestly occur to you, even if some of them do not appear to be directly related to the situation, or even to be inherent in it at all. If these exercises are done properly, you will quickly recognize that you are making a large number of demands of the situation which have nothing to do with it. You will also recognize that many of your goals are contradictory, that you have no unified outcome in mind, and that you must experience disappointment in connection with some of your goals, however this situation turns out, which is what the ego wants that confusion for us, wants that contradiction, wants that disappointment, because whenever we are disappointed and confused, we think something has gone wrong. And whenever we think that, we are identifying with the ego. The ego's kicking back in the throne of your mind, making sure that it stays in control. And you, the son of God, the child of God, the extension of pure positive source energy, in that moment forgets who you truly are, and you believe that you are separated from the world, separated from what you desire, and you are lost and hopeless. That's insane. And that's why we are insane whenever we identify with the ego and we believe what's in our own best interest. Let's continue. After covering the list of as many hoped for goals as possible, for each unresolved situation that crosses your mind, say to yourself, I do not perceive my own best interests in this situation, and go on to the next one. Now, pretty powerful stuff, right? Knowing this allows us to kind of kick back for a little bit and understand that when we are open and we don't have a plan that needs to be done like this, then we are going to receive the plan via God that is going to best work out in our best interest. It's very simple, but I struggle with it still, and you may struggle with it, but just practicing this on a daily basis, which is what we're doing with these lessons, is going to help us build up that mental muscle of ours so that way this becomes our dominant way of doing things. And me, I'm a very action oriented person, so I like to be doing things, and I think that I know what's in my own best interest, but I've came to realize that I really don't. And once I kicked back for a little bit and just started to chill out and doing more things that felt good to me in the moment and started being who I really am in every single moment, things have just been working out so amazingly. And it's because I didn't think I knew what was in my own best interest. I just allowed everything to work out as it should, and I got from point A to point B way quicker than what I would have if I was trying to pave the way for things to happen. We just have to remember and keep in mind that in any given moment, do I feel good? Do I feel love? Do I feel joy? Am I aware of who I really am? Okay, good. In that moment, I am open for clear communication with God. And if I feel inspired to take action in that given moment, or inspired to write down, or inspired to contact this person or do this thing or write down this plan, do it, because in that moment you are receiving what is in your best interest because you are identifying with who you truly are. But in your state of mind of worry, doubt, fear, or lack, and I need to get this done because I'm tired of being where I'm at right now and I need to take action in order to get to where I want to be. In that lackful state of mind, do you feel the tension that's there? Do you feel the not enoughness that you are currently emitting from your being? Do you feel that ego identification happening in that moment? Because that is exactly what's happening. You, love and light, child of God, do not lack anything. And whenever you feel like you're lacking something in that moment and trying to take action to compensate for that lack that you believe exists within you, you can be very confident that in that moment you are identifying with the ego. I'm very confident that when I don't feel joy and love and happy and good, I'm definitely identifying myself with the ego, and I do whatever I need to do to regain my state of enlightenment, whether it is take a little nap or close my eyes and meditate or listen to some music or make some music or read A Course in Miracles or something way different. It's always in that moment. You'll know exactly what to do whenever you're asleep and you are aware that I am not in this moment feeling happy, which is my function. So if I'm not feeling happy in any moment, I am malfunctioning. I am not being who I intended to be before coming into this physical body. And then doing whatever you feel inspired to do in that moment that you know will get you back into alignment. And then planning from that state of mind. You see, planning is not bad at all, but just understanding what state of mind you're in while doing so plays a very big role, because whenever you take action from a lackful state of mind, that is going to produce lackful results. And whenever you take action from an inspired state of mind, you are going to yield yourself results on the vibrational frequency that you took the action from. So that, I believe, is a good stopping point. And me and you today are going to make sure we do our 5 practice periods, because it is very crucial in order for us to make sure that we never have to practice again, because this will be our dominant state of mind forevermore, like we intended it to be. This is who we really are in this moment. This energy is who we really are. And whenever we feel anything less than this, we can know that we are identifying ourselves with the ego, and nothing in your best interest comes out of identifying with something that wants the opposite of your best interest. So we'll stop right there, and until tomorrow, I will see you for lesson 25.